Since 1970s, Canada has food as a human right, but it is not upheld.
Hi, how are you? Good. This is the one the best.
It is your right to obtain food.
Potatoes?
Yes, please.
What do you want here?
Carrots? Carrots, yeah.
Yes, chicken breast? Yes. Onion?
No, I don't need onion.
Tomato?
Yes, please.
Apple?
No, thank you.
Zucchini?
It is not something to be afraid of, shy about, to coming to a food bank and actually getting food. We have all been in that situation. You are not alone. So that is something that you need to think about. It is okay to be saying that I need help. It's okay to be driving a vehicle, coming and picking up the food and going home. It's totally okay. Food. If you need it, you need to get it.
What do we have here?
This is pork, chicken, pizza, beef, turkey.
I'll take the pizza.
Pizza?
So please, if you need help, come and get help.
So I have pork, chicken, pizza, beef, turkey. You have to choose one. Did I give you that? Yeah. Take one of those over there if you want. Hi.
Super set. How about it?
You just one today. We don't have enough. Which one you want here? Serious? Chicken? This part? No, it's all chicken. Chicken breast.
Okay, thank you.
And you can have one over there if you want. Hi. How can I help you? The bag one? Yes. What do you want here? I have pork, I have chicken, pizza, chicken, this one, or the breast? Over here? And this is your egg.
Viewers, welcome to TV Metro Mail. I am Emamul Haque and you are watching Chit Chat with Emam. Today we are planning to talk about food security or food insecurity, whatever you call. And today I am very happy that I am joined by Suman Roy. Let me just bring him on screen. Hi Suman Roy.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
We are doing quite well. Thank you very much. Suman Roy is a social worker and he is a founder of Feed Scarborough, and currently he is the chair of the trustee board of the organization, the charity. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
As I said that today we will be discussing about food security or food insecurity in Canada or in Ontario. Particularly we will be focusing on Scarborough since you are working in Scarborough area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So dear viewers, let me give you an idea why we are discussing food security in Canada. If I just read out a report from Statistics Canada, which says, based on the latest data from Statistics Canada's Canadian Income Survey, 16% of households in the 10 provinces were food insecure in 2021. We are talking about Canada, and 16% households, they are in food insecure situation, and this amounted 5.8 million, almost 6 million people, including 1.4 million, which says that children under the age of 18 living in households that experience some level of food insecure. and we are living in Canada, and Canada is one of the wealthiest nation in the world. So how would you like to explain this, Shumon Roy, since you're working in this area of food security?
So, Emamul, first thing I want to mention, first of all, it's great having this conversation. But first thing I want to mention is the data that you just presented is 2021.
That's right.
And that has tremendously changed to today,
Okay.
and in a very bad way. Just in our operations, in our food banks, our numbers over last year, 2022 beginning to 2023 beginning, our numbers have grown 300%.
My God. Yeah.
So it's really interesting, because before this I wanted to pull up the newest data, but I don't think any Statistics Canada or any organization is able to keep up with this daily change and what's happening today. So it's heartbreaking. It is absolutely heartbreaking what we are seeing. Food security, when you talk about food security, there's quite a few aspects to food security. The one that we are primarily talking today is just one aspect of it, is hunger. And I think that is kind of what I'm going to focus on today. The way the inflation is, the way our housing market is, especially in the Toronto region or any in Vancouver or any metropolitan region, the housing cost and everything going up so much, people are not just affording to buy food, period. It's as simple language as that. We have people, because very recently Daily Bread Food Bank did a survey, and they found out that in GTA, for newcomers who are coming into this country, after paying rent, it's on an average they have only $3.81 left per day.
Okay. And that is not enough for the
Forget
food
about
going in.
food. That's not even enough for transit.
That's right.
The transit going and coming, it's $6. So how do we expect people to make it work? And we know this very well, that food is often something that people negotiate with.
Yeah.
They will go to bed hungry one meal but they will put that money towards transit to get to work, for example. And that is what is creating. And the issue is much bigger, because it's not only just access to food. What is happening is this will eventually cause really high healthcare prices, because food care reduces healthcare costs. And I don't think a lot of governments and all is really focusing on that piece.
I think that reminds me that I was going through some documents which says that, if you really want to address that food insecurity, it is not that providing, through charity, providing food assistance. Rather, you have to address that, like you have to increase the income, you have to put, system in place. I mean, the social safety nets. So
Absolutely.
but whatever you are doing, or those who are providing food assistance, those are the emergency services, right?
So I'm going to tell you a couple of minutes about what Feed Scarborough does.
Okay,
So
yeah.
Feed Scarborough has 3 levels of programming. So the first level is the Band-Aids. We have the food bank, the hot meal program, and things like that, which gets food to people today. Our second level of programming, it is all about helping people to attain sustainability in their life. So we support anybody who wants to start their own business. For example, any clients of our food bank, we help them start their own business. We help people develop skills and get them employment. So that's our second level of programming, actually trying to support, if anybody wants to stand up on their own feet, how they do that. And then we have a third level of programming, which is primarily focused on research and policy advocacy. We work with UFT Scarborough, Centennial College, the Ryerson College, which is now called the Metropolitan University, Ryerson University. So we work with them in various research, and we actually advocate with all 3 levels of government for better system. And we strongly believe that you need to do all 3 to actually attain food security. In Canada, food security is not a food problem. It is very different than India, Bangladesh, Pakistan. It's very different from that.
That's
there
right.
It is a food issue.
Yeah.
Here it is not. In Canada, we waste 54% of food goes into landfill.
Oh my God. Yeah.
54%. Just imagine if
That's
we
very
didn't, then
unfortunate.
everybody would be fed a few times around.
Yeah.
So our problem is not access to, it's access to food. It's not food. We have enough food.
Okay.
It is access. Who has access to food? Who can go to the grocery store and actually buy the food? Is there proper transit? Are the grocery stores in right places? There is a lot of focuses. Do people afford to pay $6 transit to go to a grocery store? Is the insurance too high that somebody cannot afford a car? There is a lot of questions, and all of this actually come towards food insecurity. Precarious employment. Like right now, in today's world, we are serving very close to 7,000 people every week. And around 38% of our clients have at least one full-time job.
So when you're saying that every week you are serving 7,000 people, what does it mean? It means that they are coming to your outlet and collecting foods?
So some of them are collecting foods for the family and taking it for the week, like raw foods, and some of them come for a meal.
Okay.
So they come, we have a hot meal, they sit down, eat and go.
Okay, so there is a space there as well so that people can have food there.
Yes.
Okay. So I just like to, because this is, you are providing food assistance. Is there any stigma attached to those things that, say, for example, today, can I just go and have food at your, outlet?
So the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem is you fighting with your mind to be able to walk into a food bank and collecting the food.
Okay.
So the stigma is huge.
So are you working on that stigma as well? That how
let me
to
give you one quick data on the stigma piece.
Yeah.
Only 25% of people in Canada who are food insecure actually goes to a food bank.
Okay. What about
So
the rest?
75% are silently suffering.
Okay. Because of the stigma, right?
Various reasons. Stigma is one of them, a big one, especially if you're looking at Scarborough and you're looking at the immigrant population. That is a big one because we were not born or brought up with the mindset that you go and get free food from a place.
Okay.
And that is huge. So one of our programs we started right in the middle of pandemic was our online food bank. So just like Loblaws or Walmart, wherever you can shop online and then you go do a curbside pick up and go, our food banks are just like that. You can sit at home, order online, and then just go pick up. So you're not standing in line, you're not doing anything. Now that was done primarily because we wanted less people inside the food bank because of COVID, all the social distancing. But what we saw was tremendously different. 90% of our clients who are actually ordering online, they have never accessed food bank before.
Okay.
So now they don't, since there is no standing in line in front of a food bank or meeting 10 volunteers who could be their neighbors. Since that stigma is gone, people are accessing more. We see people coming and picking up food for 5-6 families and going and delivering them. We see smaller charities or smaller nonprofits, grassroots organization getting their clients to actually order and then they're coming, picking up and delivering to doors. You're seeing a lot of these to fight the stigma of it. And we welcome that.
Okay. So with regard to the stigma, how you are working to, fight against that stigma, or how as a community member, what we can do?
So I think one of the biggest thing, and I'm going to use a school example, and I'm not going to name the school because of the stigma around it, but in one of the schools in our community, so we work with many schools. Many principals reach out to us asking for food help for the parents. So we work with many schools. So one of the schools, a high school in our community, they have a food pantry where the parents and the teachers, those who can, they buy food and they stock the food pantry. We sometimes give them food and it is open for any student. They can just come, pick up and take it to their home. If they see there's no cereal in their home and their parents are not able to buy it, they can take a box of cereal. However, the school was talking to me the other day about it. The students are not going in there because they don't want to be seen in front of their other peers that they have a box of cereal. So automatically they think, oh, you're poor. So that is happening everywhere. So what tactics that we are taking as Feed Scarborough is we are actually going into the schools and talking about food insecurity and normalizing, because that's what it is right now. Everybody's suffering. We don't know our next door neighbor, what's going on in their life, that it is nothing to be finger pointed that you're poor to come to a food bank or ask for help. So we are actually educating the students on the principles of food security and the current situation in our community to kind of make it normal. And that, I think, as a community, we should all do. If we need help, we need to get it. We need to ask for it. There is no shame in asking for help, because what's happening right now, especially, it is in none of our hands, but we are all suffering. The whole world is, Canada is, everybody. So to normalize it and taking that stigma out, we don't want anybody to feel that they are a loser because they are coming to a food bank, because they're not. They're absolutely not. So I think that communication and that conversations, if we have as a community, that is the first big step.
We are working in advocacy as well. You are saying that you in policy advocacy. So you are with the government agencies or the policy level, authorities. So when you are doing that, what would or what is your recommendation to them that how they should address those kind of issues with regard to food insecurity in Scarborough or in Ontario?
That's a great question. I think it has to be a multi-prong. There is not one policy that really will fix this problem. Nowadays, as I started this conversation, I'm going to bring it back to that. We have around the world, this is not only Canada problem. When we talk about food security is very complicated. It's very complex. There is all different things that actually works on food security. But for a government, most of the countries, when they talk about food security, they put it in agriculture. They're talking about growing food. They're talking about having enough food in this world to be able to feed the people. Rarely people are actually getting to the urgent problem, the need of hunger. So the first thing that we are trying to do right now is separate those two. The food security can be obtained, but first we need to talk about, and we are calling out the hunger and poverty. And from your viewers, I think that is really important. If anybody is helping in advocacy, to not use those big words like food security, food sovereignty. Those are great, and eventually it'll work. But let's call out the real problem. People are hungry, period. And having those conversations are really key. So we have started with that. We are advocating for a hunger elimination strategy for Canada. We recently saw one of the MPs, Sonia Sidhu, got a diabetes strategy for Canada, and she worked her process through it. So we need to call it out and have a hunger elimination strategy. So that's one thing that we are talking about. We are talking to various ministers, various members of parliament on how we can actually get it done. The other big thing, and we have seen this through COVID, and this is something that I have been personally advocating for the last 10, 12 years. And it was very evident that food security being such a complex issue, it is a healthcare challenge, it is a poverty elimination challenge, it is the agriculture challenge, and health challenge. There's so many different things. So nobody really has an ownership. No ministry really gets an ownership for food security and hunger.
But the government, they have that safety nets program, which is primarily, the trying to target this food security issue, isn't it?
Very little. Very little. So technically, when we talk about food security issues, the first thing that most of the people think about is food banks. Food banks is not. will not solve food security issues.
That's what.
Yeah, food banks were created in 80s as a very temporary measure. And now we are relying on the food bank system to solve food access issue.
Yeah.
It is not meant to be. It is never going to work.
Yeah.
Now, federally, in the last 3-4 years, we are seeing little movement in actually poverty elimination. And that is what will actually help the access to food. For example, very recently, finally, after quite a few years, the federal government passed the disability tax benefit. And we advocated for that for a long time, because that was one of the ways that we know that we can tackle food insecurity in the disability community. We talk about the child tax benefits. We talk about the daycare money that is coming from the federal government. So there are small changes being made, which is certainly going to help, but it needs to be more faster, because people are hungry today.
Okay.
And the other aspect that I did not mention, but I just want to, I know you might want to talk about it later, but I want to bring it up, is the problem with the international students.
That's right.
That is absolutely heartbreaking. You see these students bringing in so much revenue to Canada by paying so high fees in their colleges, universities, but they're often left out through policies, and they're often so poor situation that, like, one of the kids messaged me a couple of weeks ago saying, I know we can get jobs, but I don't have a shoe or a jacket to go out in this cold. Back home, I'd never even imagined what this is. Is there anything you can do to help?
So that's yeah. So that's not in your area of work.
No, but we reached out to the community, got somebody to donate some things. We did that. But once again, because this particular student could not even get out to come to the food bank because it was so cold. So that's just one story. We have so many international students right now in our food bank. It is very heartbreaking.
So who are, as you said, the international students, say for example, as an example, but who are most at risk, in food insecure situation?
So changing on a very regular basis. If you ask me a year and a half ago, seniors were a lot at risk. Now there are various federal senior programs that's helping them a little bit. International students is certainly a big one. The other big one, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, but I'm going to bring it back again, is the people who have at least one full-time job. The employment system is so precarious. Even if you have a 40-hour employment, you are still relying on services like ours.
Because the rental has
the rental is so high, the transit is high, the money that they're making is not as high. Right now, almost $50,000 a year is kind of the basic living income in Toronto. It was even a year ago, if somebody made $50,000, we used to say, wow, you're making $50,000. Now you can barely scrape by. So that is shocking and surprising. And I think that is where I think we need to focus on, is have proper living wage, have better housing that can actually support, have transit which is actually can support the people in a cheaper way. So a lot of this needs to happen. Planning and the systemic problems that we have, the racism that we have, that is also huge.
Could you say something about the COVID, that how that has impacted on our food security issues, particularly in Scarborough?
So we started in the beginning of COVID. Because of COVID, we started. But so just to give you a ballpark number, in Southwest Scarborough at that point there was only one food bank, and they were supporting around 150 families on the busiest week, and anywhere between 110 to 150. And now they are still operating, doing the same numbers, if not more, and we are serving around 7,000 people. So that is how it has impacted, just with the numbers. I was just looking at one of our food banks, which is in the Rouge Park area. last year February to this year February, their numbers have grown 39 times. Not 39%, 39 times. So that is what we are going through right now. In 2020, when COVID hit, we were in a much better shape than what we are today. Because at that time, people had some savings. There were a lot of government programs like the SERB. Those all stopped. The food inflation at that time, if I spend $160 at a grocery store, I used to come back with 4 bags of grocery. Now it's only 2 bags of grocery.
So you are saying
has
that
changed.
people are now suffering more than the before COVID?
Absolutely. Before COVID and even in the beginning of COVID, we were not serving these. Even 2022 beginning to 2023 beginning, it's a drastic change. So the data that we are seeing in 2021 that you started this conversation with, that is so backdated right now. And it is changing so fast that no Statistics Canada, no UFT proof or anybody is able to keep up with the data. It's changing weekly.
This is very unfortunate indeed. But as you mentioned about the international, they are one of the most vulnerable people, those who are suffering from all these things. So do you have any specific message? Because I didn't have an idea that even the international students, they are eligible to, get access to your services. So now
anybody can.
Anybody, that's what I see. So do you have any specific message to our international students, those who are suffering?
So my easiest message is, if you are suffering, get help, period. You come to us, go to your school, doesn't matter where you are, get help. We are, as Feed Scarborough and the City of Toronto, we are advocating heavily with colleges like Centennial College, like UTSC, to figure out how they can support their students right in the college. So please reach out to your college and don't be ashamed. There is no shame in asking for help. We'd rather see you ask for help and get 3 meals a day than get only 1 meal a day and quietly going to bed. Because at the end of the day, all you international students and everybody, you are here for one purpose and one purpose only, to study and get educated.
And if they are, food insecure, they even can't concentrate on their study as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In hungry stomach, you cannot focus on your education.
That's right.
So it is a responsibility of your college, your university. It is our responsibility as the community to make sure that you are food insecure. And that goes with all post-secondary and all students. And I'm going to bring this up here because I think this is something that we are proud of, that in school level, not college level or university level, in school level, finally we have a federal government who is talking about a national school food strategy. It took us advocates over 15 years to advocate for this. But finally we are seeing that the feds have talked about and finally allocated some funds towards coming up with a national school food strategy. That's a great win.
Definitely, yeah.
That is a fantastic win. Now we want to see it also in the post-secondary.
Okay.
Because we are leaving them high and dry.
Okay, thank you very much. So as a community members, so, if we like to help, we like to join your team, or, how we can, contribute or donate or, help.
So the easiest, not the easiest, there's three good ways of donating, let's say this. One is, if you are able to afford, go to our website, feedscarborough.ca, and make a social donation. The second is, if you are able to donate 3-4 hours of your time a week, come and volunteer with us. See the problem firsthand. See what's happening in our community. We are always looking for volunteers. Currently, we have around 200 volunteers every week through our programs, but we always need more. And everybody has some strength, whatever that is, bring it on. We love that. And you can, on our website, feedscarborough.ca, you can see the volunteer tab where there's an application form you need to fill up. And the third thing that I think is also very important is have conversations with your elected officials. You have, during election time, you have these elected officials coming and knocking your doors. ask them the tough questions. Ask them what have they done for food insecurity or hunger elimination in their community. What are they doing, or what is their plan if there's somebody new who's not in the office? How do they want to tackle poverty elimination from their community? And I think that is very important, because if the community don't come and really challenge our elected official, doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what color they belong to, it will not get done. Elected officials, their job is primarily to support the community. What community brings as a problem, they will work on it. If you don't bring the poverty as a problem, they will not work on it. It's simple.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suman Roy. I think I liked one, as you said that, it's nobody's business, because food security is such an issue. So there is no particular ministry, probably. That's what you wanted to mean?
Yes.
Or
exactly.
nobody. So everybody is working on different things. Somebody is working on poverty. Somebody is working on something else. But, there is a missing link where, we need to address that. And we all know that, in order to, it is so complex. The food security issue is so complex. We need to, put our, safety net program in place. We need to, have some policies which will help individuals to improve or increase their income so that they can afford the necessary food they need every day. So
absolutely.
So what would you say to our policy level? That is the last question, that our policy levels, that, what they should do right now, because the need is now and people are suffering, they are hungry.
Absolutely. So as I said earlier, on a federal level, very urgently we need a hunger elimination strategy. And that strategy needs to tackle year 2023, year 2024 to year 2030, and have a vision of having a hunger-free Canada. And that vision I haven't seen personally from any level of government. So that's one. We need to have a vision and we need to work towards it. We talk about United Nations have a SDGs of poverty reduction and food access.
Yeah.
Why is it not calling out in Canada saying we have a problem and we have a goal by 2030 to solve that problem? So that is my first. Second of all, this is something that I've been advocating for years, to have a ministry on food security. A minister of food security where the buck needs to stop. It's not about pointing fingers, oh, this is not my problem, it goes to health, or it goes to agriculture, it goes to social services. No, it needs to stop at one point where you cannot pass on the buck. And that ministry needs to work with all these ministries together to have a comprehensive approach to food security.
Yeah.
And right now that is missing in every level of government.
I think we know that, when people, they are suffering from food insecurity, it has some impact on their health. And so the health care is then, comes into the
Yes, and
situation.
mental health.
And the
Talk about
mental
mental
health.
health, huge.
Yeah. So anyway, and this is very unfortunate. The country like Canada, which is one of the wealthiest country in the world, the situation we are talking about is food insecurity, and that exists in Canada.
Exactly.
Many people from other part of the world, they don't even understand. They don't even think about it, that people in Canada, they can also suffer from food insecurity.
Absolutely. It's heartbreaking.
Definitely. And the last but not the least one, what do you think that the area where you are working, which is in Scarborough, so who are the most vulnerable people? I mean, which class or which who are most vulnerable in this area? I mean, in food insecurity.
So unfortunately, there is no label at this point. It was very different, and I'll give you one quick story if you have the time.
Yeah.
This was 2 years ago when my kid was really she was in kindergarten, and when COVID hit, everybody started online schools, and I really wanted to see what happens in an online school. So I sat in a class with my little one, and the teacher was amazing, did a 1 hour of class, and right at the end of the class, the teacher said, okay, what is the plan for the rest of the day? And you know how kindergarten kids are. They're like, oh, we're going to go to the backyard and play. We're going to go to the park and play. And this was great. one kid who I know very well because it's a school and they live 3 houses down my house. And he got up and said, "This is the happiest day of my life." And you know how kids are, everything is about their life. So the teacher was really excited and said, "Why? What's happening?" And he said, "Today my parents can go finally to a food bank and get some food in the house. I'm hungry." I would have never guessed that that family are so dependent on food access, living in that neighborhood. But if a 4-year-old kid, their happiest day because they're going to finally get some food from a food bank, we as a society have failed.
Yeah,
And
def-
I think there is no groups that we can really say they're the most vulnerable here and there. It is you, it is me, it is everybody around here. We just don't know what situation people are going through. So my thing for the people who are listening to this is, if people need access, please get access and do not stigmatize, because it could be you, it could be me. Times change. So we need to be there for each other and figure that out.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Suman Roy. I think those who are interested in food security issues, and we have a lot of misunderstanding about that issue, and many people, they think that, food security issue is not, Canada should not deal with the food security issue because it's a rich country, it's a wealthiest country. But we have seen that unfortunately people are suffering, people are hungry here, even in Canada, even in Scarborough area. And we need services like yours. But definitely, as you said, this is a very complex issue. The other ministries, other authorities, they should also join in, and we should have the proper policy so that people can afford to purchase their necessities, the food they need every day. Thank you very much
Absolutely.
for joining us. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
efforts.
Thank you so much.